The Cathari scout vessel whispered. Dawn moved through space like a silver needle threading through black cloth. Captain Veltar stood at the command center, her forearms working at different control panels while her large eyes watched the screens around her. The ship was small compared to the great vessels of the Galactic Council, but it was fast and quiet. For 200 years, Veltar had mapped new star systems for the Council. She had seen worlds covered in ice, planets where the ground burned with eternal fire, and empty spaces where stars had died long ago. But she had never seen anything like what waited in this system. The yellow star ahead looked normal enough. It was the right size and age to support life on its planets. Veltar's crew had been tracking radio signals from the third planet for weeks. The signals were simple but clear. Someone down there was using basic technology to talk across their world. According to Council records, this meant the beings below were probably just learning to use electricity. They might have simple machines and maybe even primitive aircraft. The Council had rules about such worlds. Watch from far away, take notes, but never make contact until they developed faster than light travel on their own. Navigator Zephan was the first to notice something wrong. Her mandibles clicked nervously as she stared at her instruments. The readings made no sense. The power output from the third planet was enormous. It was like looking at a miniature star. "Captain," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "These numbers cannot be right. The energy signatures I am detecting would require technology far beyond what we expected." Veltar moved to look over Zephan's shoulder. The screen showed energy readings that should have been impossible for a primitive world. The electromagnetic spectrum was filled with complex signals that spoke of advanced industry and massive power generation. Science Officer Crixon confirmed what they all feared to believe. His deep scan of the system revealed structures in orbit around the third planet that dwarfed even the greatest Council space stations. Vast rings of metal and crystal circled the world like jewelry on a giant's finger. Massive platforms floated in the space between the planet and its single large moon. The construction was clearly artificial and clearly advanced. But it was the shape hiding in the shadow of the moon that made Crixon's 3 hearts skip beats. "Captain," he whispered, "there is a vessel near the moon. It is larger than our home port." Veltar felt ice form in her veins as she looked at the long-range scan. The object was clearly a ship, but its size defied everything the Council knew about engineering. Most warships in the galaxy were 1 or 2 kilometers long at most. The largest Council dreadnoughts reached 4 kilometers and were considered wonders of construction. But this thing was over 15 kilometers from end to end. Its hull was dark and angular, covered in what looked like weapon ports and sensor arrays. It hung in space like a sleeping dragon, dark and terrible and impossibly huge. The bridge fell silent except for the soft humming of the ship's systems. Every member of the crew stared at the screens showing the massive vessel. In 3 centuries of exploration, the Council had never encountered anything like this. The largest ships they had ever found belonged to the ancient Valorian Empire, and even those legendary vessels were half the size of what they were seeing now. "How is this possible?" Zephan asked quietly. "The beings on that planet should barely have learned to fly. How could they build something like that?" Veltar knew she faced the most important decision of her life. Council protocol was clear. When encountering advanced civilizations, scouts were to withdraw immediately and report their findings. Contact was only to be made by official diplomatic vessels with full military escort. But the implications of what they had found were staggering. If these beings could build ships of such massive size, what other capabilities might they possess? Were they peaceful explorers like the Council races, or were they conquerors waiting to spread across the galaxy like a plague of metal and fire? The safe choice was obvious. Turn around, jump to hyperspace, and race back to Council territory with the news. Let the diplomats and admirals decide how to handle this revelation. But Veltar had not survived 2 centuries of deep space exploration by always making the safe choice. The intelligence value of what they might learn by moving closer could be beyond measure. If these beings were hostile, the Council needed to know their capabilities. If they were peaceful, first contact could reshape the galaxy forever. "Begin passive scans only," Veltar ordered. "No active sensors that might give away our position. I want to know everything about that vessel without alerting them to our presence." The crew worked with quiet efficiency, their instruments drinking in every detail they could gather from long range. The ship's hull appeared to be made of some advanced alloy that their computers could not identify. The energy reading suggested multiple fusion reactors, each one powerful enough to supply an entire council world. Most disturbing of all were the weapon signatures. The vessel carried enough firepower to reduce planets to ash. Hours passed as they gathered data from the shadow of a small asteroid. The massive ship showed no signs of detecting their presence. It hung motionless in the moon's shadow like a predator waiting for prey. Occasionally, small craft could be seen moving between the great vessel and the orbital stations. Even these smaller ships were larger than most council cruisers. The scale of everything in this system spoke of an industrial capacity that should have taken thousands of years to develop. Yet according to their earlier surveys, this star system had been empty just 50 years ago. "Captain," Crixon said suddenly, "I am detecting movement from the large vessel. It appears to be changing position." On the main screen they could see the massive ship slowly turning. Its movement was graceful despite its enormous size, speaking of advanced propulsion systems and masterful engineering. Running lights began to appear along its hull, outlining its true shape for the first time. The vessel was even larger than their initial estimates. Nearly 20 kilometers of metal and weapons and technology that defied explanation. "Are they scanning for us?" Veltar asked, her voice tight with worry. "Negative, Captain," Zephon replied. "Their sensors appear to be focused on deep space. They may be conducting routine patrol sweeps." But even as she spoke, more lights appeared on the great ship's hull. Weapon ports that had been dark now glowed with internal energy. The message was clear even across the vast distance. This was not just a ship. It was a weapon of war built on a scale that made even Council dreadnoughts look like toys. Veltar made her decision. "Prepare a data burst transmission to Council headquarters. Include everything we have gathered about this system and its inhabitants. If something happens to us, the Council must know what we found here." The crew prepared the message capsule, loading it with every scan, every reading, every image they had captured. The small probe would jump to hyperspace and carry their discoveries back to civilization. Win or lose, live or die, the galaxy would learn that humanity had arrived among the stars with ships like moving mountains and weapons like caged suns. Admiral Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alert came through. The steaming cup paused halfway to his lips as the priority signal flashed across his personal display. In 30 years of service with the United Earth Fleet, Morrison had learned to read the subtle differences in alert codes. This one made his blood run cold. Unknown contact detected at the edge of the solar system. Non-human origin confirmed. All senior staff to report to the bridge immediately. The coffee cup hit his desk, with a sharp clink as Morrison grabbed his uniform jacket and ran for the door. The UES Titans, Wrath had been conducting routine training exercises near Luna when the deep space sensors picked up the intruder. The massive dreadnought was the pride of Earth's fleet, a monument to human engineering and determination. 20 kilometers of advanced alloy armor, fusion reactors that could power entire continents, and weapon systems that could crack moons. Morrison had commanded her for 5 years, through the Martian colonial wars and the Jupiter mining conflicts. But nothing in his experience had prepared him for this moment. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. Commander Lisa Martinez was already at her tactical station when Morrison reached the bridge. Her fingers danced across the control surfaces as she coordinated the ship's sensor arrays. "Contact is holding position at approximately 40 astronomical units from Sol," she reported. "Vessel appears to be conducting long-range reconnaissance scans of our system. Energy signature is unlike anything in our databases." Morrison nodded grimly. The moment humanity had always feared and hoped for had finally arrived. They were being watched by alien eyes. Captain Ryan Walsh coordinated the response from the primary command center. Banks of screens showed tactical displays, sensor readings, and communication channels buzzing with activity. Earth Command was being notified. Other fleet vessels were moving to support positions, but the Titan's Wrath was humanity's first and strongest line of defense. If these aliens proved hostile, she would bear the burden of protecting 8 billion human lives. "Sir," Walsh said, "we have established a communication link with Dr. Elena Rodriguez in the Xenolinguistics Department. She is standing by to attempt first contact protocols." Dr. Rodriguez had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, studying theoretical alien communication methods and developing protocols for peaceful contact. Her laboratory deep in the Titan's wrath was filled with quantum computers and linguistic analysis equipment. For 20 years, she had wondered if her work would ever be needed. Now, surrounded by displays showing the alien vessel's position, she faced the greatest challenge in human history. How do you say hello to a species you have never met, using languages you have never heard? Chief Engineer Kevin O'Brien monitored the ship's power systems from his position in the engineering section. The Titan's Wrath's 12 fusion reactors hummed with barely contained energy, ready to power weapon systems that could vaporize asteroids or drive the massive ship at velocities approaching light speed. O'Brien had helped design many of the ship's systems. He knew her capabilities better than anyone, but he also knew that their technology, impressive as it was, might mean nothing against aliens who had mastered interstellar travel thousands of years before humans learned to make fire. Morrison stood in the center of the bridge, surrounded by the controlled chaos of his crew preparing for the unknown. 8,000 souls depended on his decisions in the next few hours. The weight of representing all humanity pressed down on his shoulders like a physical force. Every choice he made would echo through history. Show too much strength and risk being seen as a threat. Show too little and invite attack from a potentially hostile force. The balance between peace and survival had never been more delicate. "Sir," Martinez reported, "the alien vessel is maintaining its position, but appears to be conducting more detailed scans of our orbital infrastructure. They have definitely detected our presence." Morrison nodded. There was no point in hiding anymore. Humanity had built an impressive presence in their home system over the past century. Orbital shipyards around Earth and Mars, mining stations throughout the asteroid belt, research facilities on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Any aliens with decent sensors would know immediately that Earth was home to an advanced technological civilization. The decision that would shape humanity's future came to Morrison in a moment of clarity. Rather than trying to hide their capabilities or appear weak, he would show these aliens exactly what humanity had achieved. If they came in peace, they would find a species worthy of respect. If they came with hostile intentions, they would discover that Earth would not be conquered easily. All stations prepare to reveal our full capabilities. External illumination to maximum. Open all sensor arrays. Show them who we are. The transformation was spectacular. The Titan's Wrath had been running dark, her hull barely visible against the starfield. Now every external light array activated simultaneously. 20 kilometers of advanced warship blazed against the darkness like a new star. Navigation lights outlined her sleek, predatory shape. Weapon ports glowed with internal energy, their presence unmistakable but their barrels remaining sealed. Engine bays showed the blue-white fire of controlled fusion. The message was clear in any language. Humanity extended a hand in friendship, but possessed the strength to defend itself. "Dr. Rodriguez," Morrison called over the ship's communication system, "begin transmission of our peaceful intent protocols. Mathematical constants, basic pictographs, whatever you think will communicate our desire for peaceful contact." In her laboratory, Rodriguez began the most important conversation in human history. Her first message was simple, prime numbers counting from 2 to 100. Then came basic mathematical concepts, addition, subtraction, multiplication. If these aliens had technology advanced enough for interstellar travel, they would understand mathematics. Walsh monitored the tactical situation as the minutes stretched into hours. The alien vessel remained at long range, apparently studying the revelation of humanity's technological achievement. Other Earth ships were moving into support positions but staying well back. This was the Titan's Wrath's moment to represent her species. The massive dreadnought hung in space like a guardian angel, beautiful and terrible and utterly human in her combination of grace and devastating power. Whatever happened next, the aliens would remember this moment. Morrison felt a strange calm settle over him as they waited for the alien response. Humanity had reached for the stars with determination and ingenuity. They had built ships that could cross the void between worlds and weapons that could defend their civilization against any threat. Now, in the face of the ultimate unknown, they stood ready, not as conquerors or supplicants, but as equals offering friendship while prepared for any outcome. The stars had always called to humanity. Today, the stars had finally answered back. The moment the human vessel revealed itself in full glory, terror flooded through every nerve ending in Veltar's body. The bridge of the whispered dawn erupted in chaos as alarm systems screamed warnings that made no sense. Navigator Zephon's mandibles clicked so rapidly they sounded like static, as she stammered readings that defied everything the Galactic Council knew about engineering. The ship they were observing was not just large, it was impossible. 20 kilometers of military architecture that should have taken centuries to construct, and the resources of entire star systems to build. Science Officer Crickson worked frantically at his station, running scan after scan in the desperate hope that his instruments were malfunctioning. But every reading confirmed the terrifying reality. The human vessel's hull was composed of materials that their computers could not identify. The metallurgy techniques required to forge such armor plating were decades beyond the most advanced Council worlds. Energy signatures indicated fusion reactors operating at efficiency levels that Council physicists considered theoretically impossible. Most horrifying of all, the ship's power output exceeded the total energy production of most civilized planets. "Captain," Zephon whispered, her voice shaking with barely controlled panic. "The weapon signatures I am detecting could vaporize our entire home fleet. The targeting systems alone show computational power that rivals our greatest artificial intelligences. How is this possible? These beings should barely have mastered basic spaceflight according to our development models." Veltar stared at the tactical display showing the human Leviathan in all its terrifying glory. Weapon ports that could house Council cruisers dotted the hull like the eyes of some metallic monster. Each one represented firepower that could reduce asteroids to cosmic dust. Communications Officer Yilden received transmissions that shattered every assumption about human development. Instead of the primitive radio signals expected from a species barely reaching for space, the messages arrived through quantum entanglement channels using encryption protocols that strained their most advanced computers to decode. The mathematical constants embedded in the transmissions showed understanding of physics that many Council races had taken millennia to achieve. These humans had somehow compressed thousands of years of expected technological evolution into mere centuries. Crickson's deep scans revealed details that made his three hearts race with terror. The massive ship carried a crew of thousands, each life sign registering as biologically active and intelligent. The implications were staggering. Not only had humanity built a vessel of unprecedented size and power, but they had the population and organization to crew it effectively. This spoke of an industrial and social infrastructure that challenged everything the Council believed about species development. How many more such ships might humanity possess? How many worlds had they colonized? How large was their military force? "Sir?" Yilden reported with trembling voice. "I am detecting secondary vessels moving to support positions throughout the system. Multiple signatures consistent with large military craft. The humans appear to have an entire fleet hiding in this system." The sensor display filled with new contacts as human ships emerged from behind asteroids and planetary bodies. Each vessel was larger than most Council warships. Together, they represented naval power that could challenge the combined fleets of a dozen Council worlds. The humans had not just achieved advanced technology, they had weaponized it on a massive scale. Veltar realized with growing horror that her small scout ship was completely outclassed. The Whispered Dawn was fast and stealthy, designed for reconnaissance and rapid escape, but against weapons that could crack moons, speed meant nothing. If the humans decided her crew posed a threat, they could be vaporized before their distress signal reached Council space. The power differential was so enormous that resistance would be meaningless. They were gnats buzzing around a dragon that could incinerate them with a casual breath. The human transmission protocols continued, showing mathematical progressions and basic pictographs that suggested peaceful intentions. But the context made these messages terrifying rather than reassuring. When a species possessed the power to destroy planets chose to communicate peacefully, it spoke of confidence and control that was almost godlike. The humans were not asking for permission to exist in the galaxy. They were announcing their presence as equals or perhaps even superiors to the established galactic order. "Captain," Crickson said, his voice barely audible, "the construction techniques evident in that vessel suggest manufacturing capabilities that exceed our most optimistic projections for species development. The precision engineering required to build something of that scale, while maintaining structural integrity, would require control of matter at the molecular level. These humans have achieved technological mastery that some Council races consider impossible." The implication sent ice through Veltar's veins. If humanity could manipulate matter with such precision, What other capabilities might they possess? Zephon's navigation sensors detected something that made the situation even more frightening. The massive human ship was not just hovering in space. It was positioned with mathematical precision relative to gravitational fields and orbital mechanics. The vessel's location allowed it to project power throughout the entire system, while maintaining optimal escape vectors. This was not the positioning of an explorer or even a patrol ship. This was the stance of a predator that had chosen its hunting ground with deadly intelligence. The crew of the Whispered Dawn found themselves facing the ultimate nightmare of any deep space explorer. They had discovered a species so far beyond their expectations that all their training and protocols seemed meaningless. The humans possessed technology that made Council achievements look primitive. They had organized that technology into military forces that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Most terrifying of all, they had done it in secrecy, developing their capabilities while the Council remained ignorant of their existence. Veltar made the hardest decision of her long career. Prepare emergency transmission burst to Council headquarters. Maximum priority encryption. Include every scan, every reading, every detail we have gathered about human capabilities. If we do not survive this encounter, the Council must know what we have found. The message probe contained information that would revolutionize galactic politics or destroy them entirely. The humans were not just another member race seeking admission to the galactic community. They were a power that could challenge the Council itself. As the probe prepared to jump to hyperspace with its terrifying cargo of intelligence, Veltar looked one last time at the human Leviathan dominating her screens. The massive ship hung in space like a monument to ambition and achievement that defied every law of technological development the Council had ever established. Whatever happened in the coming hours, the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had announced itself to the stars with ships like moving mountains and weapons like caged supernovas. The age of Council dominance was ending before it had even realized a new age had begun. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked with desperate intensity in her linguistics laboratory deep within the Titans, Wrath. Banks of quantum computers processed the alien transmissions, while her team of specialists analyzed every pattern, every mathematical sequence, every hint of meaning hidden in the strange signals. Communications Officer Sam Chen had identified something promising in the latest transmission burst. Mathematical constants were embedded within what appeared to be linguistic structures. The aliens were using numbers as a bridge between their languages, just as human first contact protocols had predicted. Working alongside linguistic expert Dr. Maya Patel, Rodriguez began to construct a basic translation matrix. The breakthrough came when they realized the aliens were transmitting in multiple mathematical bases simultaneously: binary, decimal, hexadecimal, and even some exotic number systems that human mathematics had only theorized about. "They are showing us their computational methods," Patel said excitedly. "Look at these patterns. They understand quantum mathematics at a level we have only dreamed of achieving, but their transmission protocols suggest they are terrified of our technological display." Admiral Morrison convened an emergency council with his senior staff as the translation efforts continued. Captain Walsh provided tactical assessments from the bridge, while Chief Medical Officer Dr. Alex Turner offered insights into potential biological compatibility issues. The alien vessel remained at extreme range, apparently conducting passive scans while maintaining what could only be described as a respectful distance. "Sir," Walsh reported, "their positioning suggests they view us as a potential threat rather than a primitive species to be studied or conquered." The implications were staggering. Humanity had expected first contact to follow one of two patterns. Either they would encounter a primitive species and become the advanced civilization making contact, or they would be discovered by advanced aliens who would treat humans as the primitive species. But the alien behavior suggested a third possibility that human planners had never seriously considered. The aliens appeared to view humanity as technological equals or perhaps even superiors. Their fear was not the terror of primitives facing advanced beings, but the concern of explorers who had stumbled upon something unexpected and potentially dangerous. Meanwhile, aboard the Whispered Dawn, Captain Veltar struggled with a decision that could affect the entire galaxy. The emergency quantum burst transmission to Council headquarters would take days to reach the core worlds, but the message's contents would send shockwaves through every government in known space. The data package contained detailed scans of human technology, that surpassed Council capabilities in multiple areas. Ship construction, power generation, materials science, and weapons development all showed advancement that challenged fundamental assumptions about species development. Science Officer Crickson continued his analysis of the human vessel with growing amazement. The fusion reactors showed efficiency ratings that Council engineers had calculated as theoretically impossible. The hull materials demonstrated strength and flexibility that required manufacturing techniques unknown to galactic science. Most impressive of all were the weapon systems. Each gun port contained enough firepower to destroy a Council destroyer. The main batteries could crack asteroids. The primary armament could reduce moons to rubble. Yet the humans kept their weapons powered but not targeted, showing restraint that spoke of discipline and confidence. The first successful communication exchange occurred when Dr. Rodriguez transmitted a carefully crafted message containing mathematical progressions followed by basic pictographs showing human peaceful intentions. The transmission included images of Earth, representations of human biology, and symbols indicating a desire for dialogue rather than conflict. The response came within hours, arriving through quantum entanglement channels that demonstrated the aliens possessed faster-than-light communication technology. Their message contained star charts, mathematical constants, and what appeared to be information about a vast galactic civilization. Communications Officer Yilden worked frantically to decode the human response. The message structure suggested not just intelligence but sophisticated diplomatic protocols. The humans had included information about their home system, their technological capabilities, and what appeared to be formal greetings between civilized species. Most importantly, they had transmitted detailed specifications about their vessel's defensive systems while emphasizing their peaceful intentions. The message was clear. We are strong enough to defend ourselves, but we prefer to talk rather than fight. Dr. Patel made another breakthrough when she identified emotional content in the alien transmissions. The mathematical structures contained subtle variations that appeared to convey feelings and attitudes. "Admiral," she reported to Morrison, "I believe the aliens are experiencing significant fear regarding our technological display. Their transmissions suggest they view our capabilities as far beyond what they expected to find in this region of space. They appear to be treating us as a major galactic power, rather than a newly discovered species." Morrison realized that humanity stood at a crossroads that would define their future among the stars. The aliens' fear presented both opportunity and danger. If humans could establish themselves as equals rather than newcomers, they might gain respect and favorable treatment in galactic politics. But if they appeared too threatening or unpredictable, they could find themselves facing the combined opposition of established galactic powers. The balance between demonstrating strength and showing peaceful intentions had never been more critical. The second exchange of messages proved even more promising. The aliens transmitted detailed information about something called the Galactic Council, a confederation of species that governed much of known space. The data included star charts showing the territories of dozens of different civilizations, trade routes connecting hundreds of worlds, and diplomatic protocols for contact between species. Humanity was not just meeting one alien race. They were being introduced to an entire galactic community that had existed for millennia without knowing humans existed. Rodriguez coordinated the next phase of communication with growing excitement and concern. The aliens were clearly peaceful and appeared eager to establish formal diplomatic contact. But their messages also contained subtle warnings about the complexity of galactic politics and the care required when dealing with established powers. Humanity's technological achievements had apparently exceeded the normal expectations for newly contacted species. This could be an advantage or a complication depending on how carefully the situation was managed. As hours turned into days, both species began to understand the historic nature of their encounter. The aliens represented access to a galaxy teeming with intelligent life, advanced technology, and opportunities beyond human imagination. The humans represented something equally unprecedented for the galactic community, a species that had achieved advanced technology in isolation, developing capabilities that in some areas exceeded those of established galactic powers. Both sides realized they stood at the threshold of an encounter that would reshape everything they knew about the universe and their place within it. The Galactic Council chambers on the core world of Nexus Prime erupted in chaos the moment Captain Veltar's emergency transmission reached the assembled representatives. Species that had coexisted peacefully for millennia suddenly faced the reality that their technological supremacy might be an illusion. The holographic displays showed images of the human vessel that defied every model of species development the Council had ever established. 20 kilometers of advanced military architecture that represented industrial capacity, rivaling entire Council worlds combined. The revelation sent shockwaves through governments across the galaxy. Chancellor Mordain of the Altarian Federation stood before the emergency assembly, his crystalline features reflecting the blue glow of the tactical displays. "Honored representatives," he began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. "We face a situation unprecedented in galactic history. A species has achieved advanced technology in complete isolation, developing capabilities that exceed our own in multiple areas. The humans possess a single warship with firepower that could challenge entire Council fleets. Intelligence suggests they possess many more such vessels hidden throughout their territory. On Earth, President Maria Gonzalez addressed a joint session of the Global Assembly in an emergency meeting that would reshape human understanding of their place in the universe. The revelation that humanity was not alone had sent waves of excitement and fear across the planet. Admiral Morrison's reports from the Titan's Wrath provided Earth's first glimpse into a galaxy teeming with intelligent life. The knowledge that humanity's rapid technological advancement had apparently exceeded galactic norms filled the assembly with both pride and deep concern about the challenges ahead. "Fellow citizens of Earth," President Gonzalez said, her voice carrying to every corner of the planet through global communication networks. "Today we learned that our dreams of reaching the stars have brought us to the attention of a vast galactic civilization. Our achievements in space technology, engineering, and military development have exceeded the expectations of species with thousands of years of spacefaring experience. We stand at the threshold of joining a community of worlds that spans the galaxy, but we must proceed with wisdom and caution as we navigate this new reality." As weeks passed, formal diplomatic protocols began to emerge from the initial communications between humanity and the Galactic Council. Ambassador Jonathan Clark led humanity's first delegation aboard a specially configured diplomatic vessel designed to showcase human technology while emphasizing peaceful intentions. The ship itself was a marvel of engineering, incorporating the most advanced human technology in a design intended to impress without threatening. Its arrival at the neutral meeting point near Alpha Centauri marked humanity's formal entry into galactic politics. The initial meetings were tense affairs held in specially constructed, neutral facilities orbiting a lifeless world chosen specifically for its lack of strategic value. Council representatives struggled to adapt their centuries-old diplomatic frameworks to accommodate a species that defied all their models of technological development. Human negotiators found themselves in the unique position of being simultaneously the newest species to achieve interstellar capability and among the most technologically advanced. The traditional patterns of galactic diplomacy had no precedent for such a situation. Captain Veltar found herself serving as a liaison officer between the Council and humanity. Her experience as the first alien to encounter human technology, making her invaluable to both sides. She worked closely with Ambassador Clark to establish communication protocols and cultural exchange programs. The small Cathari officer who had trembled in terror at first sight of the Titan's Wrath now served as a bridge between civilizations. Her reports helped the Council understand that human strength came not from aggression, but from innovation and determination. The negotiations took months, as both sides carefully explored the implications of formal contact. The Council offered humanity membership in their confederation, access to galactic trade networks, and sharing of advanced technologies in areas where Council development exceeded human achievements. Humanity, in turn, offered access to their innovations in fusion technology, material science, and military engineering. But the discussions revealed a fundamental challenge. Humanity's rapid development and formidable military capabilities made traditional Council membership structures inadequate. The breakthrough came when Ambassador Clark proposed a new category of relationship with the Council. Rather than seeking membership as a junior partner requiring guidance and protection, humanity would be recognized as an independent power entering into alliance and trade agreements as equals. The Solar Accords, as the final agreement came to be known, established humanity as a sovereign interstellar power, with full rights and responsibilities in galactic affairs. The document recognized human territory, established trade protocols, and created frameworks for military cooperation against external threats. The signing ceremony took place aboard the Titan's Wrath, in a gesture that carried deep symbolic meaning for both sides. The massive human dreadnought had been the source of fear when first encountered by alien scouts. Now it served as the foundation for a new era of cooperation and understanding. Representatives from dozens of council worlds gathered in the ship's main hangar, surrounded by the technological marvels that had announced humanity's arrival among the stars. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy, marking the moment when Earth joined the community of spacefaring civilizations. Admiral Morrison stood at the observation deck of the Titan's Wrath months later, watching as alien vessels approached for the first joint training exercises between human and council fleets. The massive ships moved in formation, their different designs reflecting the diverse engineering philosophies of dozens of species. Human vessels with their angular predatory lines flew alongside the organic curves of Cathari bioships and the crystalline geometries of Altarian cruisers. The sight represented everything humanity had dreamed of achieving among the stars. The joint exercises proved to be learning experiences for all involved. Human tactics and technology impressed council observers, while alien strategies and innovations opened new possibilities for human fleet commanders. The training scenarios revealed that different species had developed solutions to common military challenges that complemented each other perfectly. Where council ships excelled in speed and maneuverability, human vessels provided devastating firepower and defensive capability. The combination created fleet formations more effective than either could achieve alone. Captain Veltar reflected on how a routine scouting mission had revealed that the galaxy's newest players might also be its most formidable. As she watched the joint exercises, from her new position aboard a council diplomatic vessel, the terror she had felt upon first encountering the Titan's Wrath had transformed into respect and even friendship with the humans she had come to know. Her role as liaison had shown her that human strength came not just from their impressive technology but from their approach to challenges with creativity, determination, and an unusual willingness to work with others as equals rather than seeking domination. The universe suddenly seemed both larger and smaller to everyone involved in the historic first contact. Larger because the revelation of galactic civilization opened infinite possibilities for exploration, discovery, and cooperation. Smaller because the barriers between species proved less significant than anyone had expected. Mathematics, physics, and the basic desire for survival and prosperity created common ground that transcended biological differences. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not as conquerors or supplicants but as equals, who earned respect through strength tempered by wisdom and diplomacy, guided by genuine desire for peaceful coexistence.